Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys football, heading to the SEC as Kentucky goes on the road to Oxford, Mississippi, and playing an Ole Miss team that we don't really know that much about. We talked about how they're figuring out the quarterback situation. It does seem like it's Jaxson Dart, but they've had cupcake games pretty much all year. Versus Kentucky, they go on the road, beat Florida. They're a little bit more of a proven team. Before we get into it, though, this one's going to be a fun one, but I just want to say thank you guys for all the support you guys have shown the channel. We love talking ball with you guys. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers, which is absolutely insane. We really do appreciate all the support you guys shown. We love talking ball with you guys in the comments section. So if you do like the content, consider subscribing. Also, let us know in the comments section what you guys think's happening in this game, what players to watch. We're learning from you guys. Dill, I'm going to kick it off to you. What are your early feels on this game here?
I think this Kentucky team is a team to watch out for a lot of people because I think you're seeing an offense that's getting a little bit more dynamic than what you're used to. The old, like 3 yards in a cloud of dust Kentucky offense where they just weren't scoring or moving it on anyone. And I will say Florida did do a pretty good job handling them, but I think you saw moments of really creative play design. They found ways to get those tight ends wide open. They have some real talent on the edge, like that Dane Key as a freshman stepping up, Tavion Robinson. Like they have some guys who can really play, and they're getting Chris Rodriguez back. So I think they can combine what Kentucky for, which is being able to hammer teams a little bit, with an added dimension of some skill and some creativity and some newfangled offense that I think they needed to do in the past few years to score a little more effective.
And we talked about it with this Kentucky team in our summer preview. Like they don't have the dominant offensive line that they've had the past. I mean, for the last 4 years. And what John Schlarman shot out, rest in peace to him, but one of the best offensive line coaches to do it. The big blue wall. And that's why I fell in love with this Kentucky team. They were dominant. This Kentucky team doesn't have that, but they do have what's been missing on this Kentucky offense, and in my mind, holding them back from being a legitimate top 10 team was quarterback that can push the ball down the field. Will Levis is that guy. Still a little bit unproven, but he's proving himself more and more as the season goes on. 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He effortlessly can throw the ball and get the ball to these playmakers. What I want to touch on, though, and you noted it, if you told me 2 years ago that Kentucky would be going on the road and playing Ole Miss, where Ole Miss is averaging 280 yards per game on the ground, and Kentucky's only averaging 81 yards on the ground, and Kentucky's averaging 300 yards passing, I would have told you you're out of your mind. This is what makes this game so interesting. This Ole Miss team wants to run the football behind a good offensive line and 2 running backs. Zach Evans, the transfer, obviously one of the best running backs in the country. Quinshon Judkins, a guy that I was listening to an Ole Miss podcast over the summer, trying to learn a little bit more about this team, saying true freshman flashing in camp. He's an absolute dog deal. Have you got a chance to check him out at all?
I saw a little bit against Tulsa, and there's he looks awfully thin out there, but then you just see him flying around and guys struggling to tackle him. So
he's I think he's 6. He's 220 plus pounds. He's a hammer. But he also, what you said, you wouldn't think he's that big because he moves so well. This guy's a true freshman. And
you telling me he's for real 220 pounds?
Yeah, you can check that as I'm talking. Go check that out, but I'm pretty sure he's an absolute hammer. Well, I'm talking. Zach Evans is probably the best running back on that team. Quinshon Judkins has a legit argument that he is too, and he brought in a guy like Ulysses Bentley and not even seeing the field because Quinshon Judkins is so good.
That's crazy that he's 220 pounds because, when I watched him, I was like, ooh, this is kind of like a scat back.
No,
added
but he's a hammer.
That's crazy. The way I saw him, just getting in space and looking really the feet moving fast and doing his thing. So that is the one. I'm stunned to see Ole Miss kind of turning a. Granted, they're not running the ball in the traditional running the ball way. They're doing it in a very spread out, creative, spacey sort of manner. I think it goes beyond the zone read almost, where they're not down blocking. They're not doing they're not playing power football, but they're doing a really good job finding Jaxson Dart space, Zach Evans, the freshman. They're just getting their playmakers.
You're seeing one of the brightest offensive minds, seeing the talent that he has, where We talked about this in the summer. Like what Ole Miss probably biggest hole on their offense is the wide receivers. Like I really like Jonathan Mingo. I like bringing in Michael Trigg, but outside of that, like there's not a ton of wide receivers you're really, really excited about. What you're really excited about is the offensive line and the running backs. And that's what Lane Kiffin looked at this personnel group and said, that's what we got to take advantage of. And they are running it down teams' throats. Now, again, you haven't run the ball on an SEC team's defense. Kentucky is a tough front to run it against. I really like those linebackers. You take a look at some of those backers. DeAndre Square, I feel like, has been playing at Kentucky for a minute. Jaquez Jones, Jordan Wright, some really good backers. I think that's the story of the game here.
The one thing though about these backers is like I would say they were pretty good against Florida, but they did give up some big plays to those running backs, especially ETN. And again, yeah, like the way I'm watching Ole Miss, I don't think you can let Zach Evans and Lumpkin get loose. Even Jaxson Dart, frankly, he's got his own athleticism and speed. So that's the one thing that concerns me a little bit about Kentucky's defense is they need to be more disciplined and not get caught chasing backers on bad angles or chasing running backs, I should say, on bad angles, because there was a little bit of that, especially when they were running like counter plays and a little misdirection from Florida, because Ole Miss does that really well, and they will beat Kentucky up a little bit if those linebackers don't stay in good position. But at the end of the day, they're good athletes, so as long as they play solid, sound football, I think they can be a problem for Ole Miss.
Now, on the other side of the ball, our big question was how does Wayndell Robinson get filled for Kentucky? Like he was their offense. Like outside of when they were running the ball with Chris Rodriguez, through the air, it was Wayndell Robinson and Josh Ali. You obviously lose those two guys. We talked about Dane Q, who is vertically down the field like an absolute animal going up for the ball.
That was a sick leg.
And they go out and get Virginia Tech transfer Tavion Robinson, who looks like he's Wayndell Robinson Jr. and the guy that you just get the ball to him in space and let him cook. This Kentucky offense is really good. I think you said it best. This Kentucky offense was forced to kind of change their scheme. They look at their personnel and say, we can't smash the ball on this teams like we had in the past. We're going to have to ask more of Will Levis. We're going to have to ask more of these wide receivers. And they've delivered so far. And this is going to be a really good matchup. I think the story of the game comes down to can this Ole Miss rushing attack that is one of the best in the country continue its dominance when it gets to SEC level physicality. Dill, with that question in mind, I'm going to turn it over to you for the pick. Kentucky 6.5-point dogs on the road in Oxford. Where are you going with this?
Yeah, I don't get how they're 6.5-point dogs. Like I haven't been wildly impressed with Ole Miss. I think defensively, I don't think they're doing enough to get pressure on the quarterback. I think you watched that Tulsa game. They were way too many breakdowns, not making enough negative plays. And that's kind of what I thought. Like, that's the way Florida slowed them down. Is Florida did, in fairness, they were able to get some pressure on Levis throughout the game and get after him. And I just didn't see enough of that from Ole Miss to think they're going to really be able to shut down this defense because they're not a wildly talented defense. And I don't think the style they play is going to be particularly effective against Kentucky, especially if they're going to get back Chris Rodriguez and they can go to work and hammer him a bit.
Yeah, I like what Lane Kiffin did with that defense. I mean, he hammered the transfer portal. I think Hasheem Young was a great addition. Ladarius Tennyson from Auburn, a great addition. But like you said, when you have a bunch of new faces trying to learn this new scheme with the new defensive coordinator as DJ Durkins leaves, you're going to see some of those breakdowns. And Tulsa's a very good kind of spread air raid-ish attack, and they definitely let some guys run free. There was probably too much space for some of those wide receivers. I don't love the pick, but if Kentucky gets to like 7.5, which it's been getting bet up, I think the line opened at 3.5. And so now it's all the way up to 6.5. I really like it spotting a touchdown. Inside of 6.5, I probably would just take Kentucky money line. I think there's some value there where this is really a pick 'em game. We don't know much about Ole Miss. Jaxson Dart hasn't played in a high stakes game in Ole Miss. Like they've been kind of in cruise control most of their games where you saw Will Levis. He's battle tested in the SEC. It's his second year starting. He went on the road and beat Florida. When you take a look at these two teams, one of the teams is more proven in the SEC. One of the teams is not. I'm probably leaning with the more proven team, even though I really do like this Ole Miss team. If you're giving me 7 points for Kentucky, like I'd probably be sprinkling on them.
My issue is you got to think Ole Miss is probably going to need to throw the ball a little bit. I mean, I know they've been able to run it well, but I just don't see them being able to do it at that level on a Kentucky team. And I don't know. Jaxson Dart, like in the spring game, didn't look good. You just haven't seen much from him throwing the ball right now. I don't know. I think this is way too many points. I think Kentucky can very easily win this game. And I think my big issue is I don't see how Ole Miss gets after them up front, which is the only way Florida really was able to stop them. So I don't know. I think I kind of love the Kentucky money line at anything as a dog. So 6.5, like sign me up.
Yeah, I get that too. I'm very excited. I think you're going to see Jaxson Dart be asked to do a little bit more. Again, they've been leaning on the run game. They haven't asked Jaxson Dart to do much. Excited to see him be asked to do a little bit more against a very, very good Kentucky defense. This is going to be a really good one, and we're going to learn a lot about both these two teams. Can't wait to watch it. SEC battle. Again, we appreciate you guys checking us out as usual. Again, if you like the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.